Hey, what is up, guys? Hope everything is going well. As we're closing off 2020, I thought I'd drop just one last video, just as a send off for 2020, and just to kind of wrap up our gaming experience for this last generation. I know this year has been, not the best year for a lot of us, and hopefully next year is going to shape up to be even better. So just to wrap up, the last generation console and just kind of saying goodbye to it, I was kind of wondering to myself, what is the best game of this last generation? And I was reflecting on it because like I have a lot of favorites and I like a lot of games for a lot of different reasons. But if I were to pick one game that would be my defining game, the best game of that console generation, which one would it be? Saying goodbye to the PS4 in this way is kind of a bit significant because this is the console that kind of brought me back to gaming. It brought my interest, it piqued my interest again. This is where I discovered streaming. I didn't even know streaming existed. And so this is where I discovered that. This is where I started my own stream just by hitting that share button on the PS4 controller. Years later, I have like more than 1,000 followers. A lot of you guys still follow me, still are like super regulars and stuff like that. I've made a lot of friends, just like people who I've never even met before from all over the world, like which is just so crazy. So I'm super grateful for this console generation, just for like connecting me to a world like I didn't really even know existed before. I've played a lot of titles. You guys know I really like single player games, so I thought, like which one or which game out of all of the titles that I played in the past year, like was my absolute favorite. And it's gonna be a little hard to choose, so I picked up my top titles that I have that I bought on the PS4. So these are some of the titles that I picked. So we got Red Dead 2, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, we got Uncharted 4, we got God of War, we got Spider-Man, and we got Horizon Zero Dawn. So these are the physical copies that I have. I also have some that are digital copies as well that I'd like to include in our little list for game of the generation. So we can add Cyberpunk 2077, which is the latest game that I played, Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and of course, Star Wars Fallen Order. So, as you can see, that list right there is pretty stacked. Like all of those, I love all of those games for a lot of different reasons. So, if you're seeing this list, take a pick and see which one is your favorite or which one do you think that I would pick as my all-time favorite. You can pause the video, and choose. So the one game that I would pick out of that list as my defining game of the generation would be none other than Red Dead Redemption 2, baby. Mm. I I was trying to decide on like which game it would be, and for so many reasons it has always came back to Red Dead 2. And I'm going to list some of those reasons. So first off, this game has checked off so many boxes in technical achievements. The graphics are actually some of the best that I've ever seen. Some of the most realistic graphics that I've ever seen. You look at just like the landscape, you just look at the geography in Red Dead 2, just how accurate the geographical landscape is in that game, the atmospheric effects. Um, you just look at like even if you look at like just the rivers and the valleys and stuff, you can see the erosion, you can see where the landscape changes from like deserty to like more foresty to more swampy to like more of like your classic western landscape where the dirt changes and stuff like that, like where it's more lush. You look at the different types of dialogues. I was reading somewhere that Red Dead 2 has about 500,000 lines of dialogue in it. That is absolutely crazy. And if you play the game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because it really feels like you're in a real evolving world where everyone responds to what you're doing. So, on top of the amount of dialogue that they have, I think I was reading somewhere that Red Dead 2 has about 300,000 different types of animations. And like that's just crazy if you think about it. Like you look at the NPCs in the town, I think there's YouTube videos up with people who are following around NPCs just looking at what some of these NPCs are doing on their day to day. These NPCs legit have a life of their own. Okay, so I just looked it up and I can see that there is over 200 species of animals that you can interact with. And they all have their own animations. They all have like their own animal and wildlife sounds and stuff. Like it's just so crazy when you actually think about how much is actually in the game. Like even the horse riding physics are so good. Like just what you do with your horse, like you have to bond with it, you have to feed it, you have to groom it, you have to saddle up your horse, you have to hitch your horse and stuff. And your horse has like, I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 uh different types of speeds or gallops that the horse has. Like they put in they just put in just so much love and effort into just like so many little things. It just adds to just really engulfing you into that whole experience. I haven't even touched on the story and the characters, the gang that you're with, and each person in the gang is just such a well-rounded person. They're all their own individual person. They all have their own special characteristics, and you just get to know and fall in love with like just each and every one of them. And the story missions are just so well done. They're so action packed. Nothing ever feels repetitive. And I think that's an amazing accomplishment for a video game of that size. At the end of the day, I just think Rockstar just nailed this game so well. It is a whole experience, and to me, it's just a piece of art. But the really defining feature that made me pick this game as the game of the generation over every other game that I've played is that this game has single handedly ruined many other games. I was playing Ghost of Tsushima and I couldn't help but compare the horse riding to Red Dead 2. I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and as much as I love that game, as much as I love it, as much as I love the landscape and I think it looks gorgeous and it looks beautiful, I couldn't help but compare it to Red Dead 2 and just how much more accurate the landscape looks like in Red Dead 2 compared to AC Valhalla. It's going to be so hard to really top what Red Dead 2 did in their game. I do have to give an honorable mention to Last of Us Part 2. I know all the controversy, all the drama, and internet Karens wanna say whatever about that game. I don't care. I absolutely love that game. Absolutely loved everything that they put into that game. Love the story, love the graphics, love combat, love everything. I didn't even know that the PS4's power could be pushed to that extent. And I think that was a gigantic accomplishment in and of itself, and one of the best ways to say goodbye to the PS4 console generation. Another honorable mention is to Uncharted 4. So usually I play the whole Uncharted series over every year. But this year I kind of skipped out because I wanted to wait until I get to PS5 and then play Uncharted 4 running at 60 FPS. But I think that update still has to come out for Uncharted 4. I'm not really sure. But once that comes out and I get to PS5, I definitely want to play over the whole series. But all in all, it was a really great game generation. I'm glad I got to experience it, especially in my time. Next, we are saying goodbye to 2020. Thank you guys for always supporting and always for following the channel and subscribing to my YouTube and stuff. Next generation is going to bring a whole other group and plethora of games. Right now, I'm anticipating Horizon Zero Dawn. Forbidden West, and then of course God of War Ragnarok. Thanks for tuning in. This is a goodbye in the last video of 2020. Hope you guys like it, and leave a like, leave a comment, and make sure you're subscribed. And I'll keep working on more content and keep working on more YouTube videos in the next year. And hopefully, we'll continue to grow because right now I'm sitting at, I think, 41 subscribers. All the best to all of you guys in the new year. Really praying and wishing for the best for all of you guys. I will see you guys when I see you. Peace.